Imagine a league built by the people, for the people. A league dedicated to the economic development of your city. So the question becomes, how good are the 32 teams that play in the minor football league? Well, there's only one way to find out. You have to experience the MFL. The MFL.
Hey there, Myles. How you doing now? Check your mute button there, Brother Myles.
Okay, can you hear me?
There you go. Okay.
I can hear you. Good.
Yeah, I was trying to get you.
How you doing there today, sir?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, it's a great day to be a business owner. Anybody who has a credit should think about it.
Right. Well, I just want to say, we was going to have one of the newest, we have the new GM with the Maryland Colts. We were excited to have him on the show Saturday morning. Also, we was going to have his head coach here today because of work, and weather. So also, I just want to get into the fact that I'm glad everybody got out and voted, which we needed people to get out and vote. This is the laboratory of change, even not only with the MFL, but change is coming, period, Robin. And I know you like to expand on that a little bit, sir.
Well, change is, what do you say? Change you must. You can't really stay still. So you have to decide which side of change you're going to be on, the good side, the bad side. But change is going to happen. I always say this, Myles. Say if you don't change, change will change you. You have an option to be a changer, a changee. So I always say, look, let's go out here and make some change instead of change happening to us. And I think that's what happened in this past week. People got out, they voted their conscience, they voted their wallets, they voted their spiritual beings, whatever they decided to do, they voted, and some people will see some change. Now we have some discord still going on, and that seems to be very unfortunate that we haven't had the transition that we should be having right now. But we'll just wait and see what happens. But for the most part, people got out and did what they needed to do to make the change that they want to see.
And absolutely, we had a chance to see historical numbers, to get out there and vote. And I was glad to see that now. And it just shows you that people were speaking, you know what I mean? And it gave people an opportunity to get out there and exercise your First Amendment. And they understand that right now it makes a change when you get out there and vote. And if you didn't believe that before, I'm quite sure they believe it now, Mr. Gatewood. So I just want people to understand that you see the significance in voting. You see the changes that's made. Even now, the battle goes on because you still have to get those, the House and the Senate. We good on one, but we got to get some people in there. And I want to say congratulations to the people, the young people that got out there in numbers, Mr. Gatewood, in numbers. That was a great thing to see, huh?
Well, many times we have accused the young people of dropping the ball, not being engaged, but this time was different. That just tell you the magnitude of this election. We've seen numbers of people that voted from every demographic, but the young people actually stood up this time. They got off their mopeds and out of their off their computers long enough to go out there and vote, and they use that social media that we always talk about to galvanize, get them into these different groups and find people who hadn't voted and to reach people. And so, it was a remarkable election, and hats off to the young people. And I mean, I think we're going to start seeing a more engaged young electorate going forward, because we had back in 2016 in the election, that was one of the missing. They were like the missing link. They were not engaged in 2016, and we see what happened in 2020. Total different story, total different ball game, totally different result.
And it works, and they understand now that the significance in voting. I was just glad to see that. Also, as you know, Robert, we still had this COVID-19 pandemic to deal with, and believe me, we want people to know this is not going anywhere, and it's spiking as we speak now all around the country. And they were talking about a lot of people are going to the hospital and they're taking in a lot of patients. But I like something that President-elect Biden said. He said, my first priority is to attack this virus. And I thought that spoke volumes as far as I'm concerned.
Well, exactly, because some people try to separate, they try to compartmentalize the virus and the economy. They're saying if you tackle the virus, it's going to, do damage to the economy. But actually, the opposite is true. The quicker we get this virus under control, the quicker we can open up our businesses, people can come back into the restaurants, people can go back into the football stadiums and basketball arenas. So one precedes the other. We get this virus under control, it will have a positive economic impact on businesses that are suffering right now. So I don't buy into that notion that, well, we got to sacrifice one over the other, when in fact they actually work hand in hand.
And and I'm glad you spoke on that, because right now they're talking about, I know that the governor of Maryland, state of Maryland, said that, he want to cut back on things, but it was a beautiful thing to see down there after election. But some of us wasn't doing what we're supposed to do with this face mask, and I understand that sometimes you're excited and was something to be excited about, but you also have to be responsible. And also they talk about kids going back to school. I don't understand it for the life of me. Why are you trying to send the kids back to school when you know it's no control? We don't even have no answer to this virus right now. And kids are not going to do what they're supposed to do. Now they bring it back home, and then the parents is catching it. But the parents are so gun-ho about sending the kids. I mean, you want them out the house that bad, Robert, that you want to risk, their life and your life just to get them out of the house?
Some of these kids are pretty bad. I mean, if not worth danger in their lives. But boy, I tell you, you've been locked into a house with a 15 to 16-year-old for about 7 or 8 months, man. I'm telling you, folks are willing to take some chances they may not have been able to take back in March when it was first starting. So I get the frustration, and there is a fatigue that is setting in. People are starting to feel frustrated. They feel like they can't see the end of this. And they really are starting to think about maybe it's not that bad after all. Well, the president got it. He didn't die. So people start to have these kind of discussions. But what they don't realize, in our community, we're dealing with a different dynamic. We have higher incidence of things like high blood pressure, heart conditions, cancer. And these are predispositions for a condition like COVID-19. If you have one of those conditions, your likelihood of surviving are much slimmer. I think about over in the Republican Party, we've seen practically everybody in the darn Republican Party around the White House get this disease, and the one black guy that got it died. That was Herman Cain. Absolutely. So that just tells you what we face a different set of dynamics in our community. So we can't let other people dictate to us how we should behave regarding this disease.
It's important that I'm glad you touched on that. And you're right about that. One person died, and it would be the person of color. and all those people out there, but they're talking about all the people that got, court divided, but you heard nothing about it, in terms of they in the hospital, how did they progress? You only heard about, at the time, President Trump, he goes to the hospital, immediately when he get out, he take the face mask off. I don't understand that. So my thing is, I don't want to put out no conspiracy theory or nothing. Did he really have it? But, hey, that old thing, we don't need to discuss that anymore because he's gone, and we're glad that we have the opportunity to get a new elect president, like we say, to speak the people that's spoken. I do want to get touched back on the MFL because we are the laboratory of change, and we are doing some great things, Robin, in terms of and I noticed something else, Rob. We've been getting a lot of calls from millennials, man. A lot of calls, in marketing, PR, man, broadcast. I mean, hey, GM, as you know, we just signed a new GM out there your way in Maryland Colts, a young, dynamic young man with the Georgetown grad. I mean, these are some of the types of things that the MFL is doing, and I think more and more people begin to realize that the MFL is real, Robert.
The MFL is indeed real. There are some, if you're watching, anybody who's watching the economic goings on in the country and the companies that are moving, that are shaking things up, that are excelling despite the pandemic, in some cases being propelled to greater heights during the pandemic, the MFL is one of those institutions. And I think people have, by your having this radio show, by having these dynamic GMs across, like up in like Rochester, Pat Freeman, like that, and other guys across the country, they're seeing this. I mean, you sitting there, I don't care, you have to be blind. I mean, Stevie Wonder can see this, that the MFL is doing things. If you're sitting on your social media, if you're watching this show, if you're just out and about talking to folks, people are starting to ask, who is this MFL? Let me check them out. What are they doing? And then when they start seeing what the MFL is doing, hiring these females, bringing these board of directors, bringing them into the boardroom, bringing these young people, giving these job opportunities, coming to these depressed communities, with this long reach from the stakeholders of jobs and clients and vendors and all these opportunities that are coming. It's a lot to talk about. And that's why MFL, being this laboratory of change, is really living up to that title in big ways. In 2021 is just going to be off the chain.
And you being our guru in terms of about the business strategy part of it, being on the board. I mean, in talking to people about what we are doing, and the norm is gone. I can't say that enough, and some people not hearing that, and I'll say it again, the norm is gone. This is the new norm. And a lot of people have not grasped that yet or want to believe that yet, Robert. What do we say to people like that in terms of trying to get them to understand what was there is gone? Just like a lot of the business closed down, they can't recover from it, especially small businesses. But, in terms of economic development, Robert, and that's your, that's your expertise, and you're helping people to start businesses and stuff. And what do these people need to do and understand about business?
Well, the first thing they have to do, they have to adapt a different mindset. Unfortunately, we go through 12 years of school, and the whole idea is to go out here and get a job. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we know in other communities, they have a different path. They're offered a different path. They have multiple paths, several pathways. And so we have to go back and retrain and have people to think differently about how they're going to live the rest of their lives. And one of those things is to put in people's head that they can actually succeed in business. Many people right now who are sitting on a 9-to-5 job are really sitting on a gold mine because they have skills that are marketable, and they're being underpaid, they're being undervalued, being marginalized, and they need to jump from behind that desk, even while they're working on their job, and start exploring what they can do as a business owner. So a lot of this, Myles, is psychological, it's mental. We have to change people's mindset to help them understand that starting a viable business is within their reach. And then once they do that, they have to seek the help. They have to get the information, find out who can help them navigate these waters, because just because you are a good engineer does not necessarily mean you're going to be a good business owner. You have to find the resources, talk to the right people. And that's where my company has been helping people over the past 25 years, and more recently during this pandemic. We've Myles, I've had to hire 5 people since the pandemic started. I mean, I just brought a young lady on this past week, and her reason I brought her on just to help move the businesses through the system, because we have so many people coming in. It was overwhelming me, but that's not to toot my horn. It's to say that we have people who are starting to get it. They're starting to realize that the old way, like you said earlier, that norm is no longer. You can't just sit by and wait on a company to fold while you're sitting there biting your nails saying, man, I hope my company doesn't close next week. You sitting there walking around like a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, worrying about something to fall on you. Take this opportunity. People are more forgiving now. There's opportunity out here. You can take risks now that you maybe couldn't take when you had a steady job or when the economy was secure. It's a risk anyway. It's a risk anyway. It's a risk to stay where you are. Probably a bigger risk than going out here starting something. And that's what I'm starting to see people do. People are contacting me that I had talked to 5 years ago. Oh, I got this good job. I'm worrying about, I got a kid in school. I got my car to pay for. I just got a mortgage. Well, how's that working out for you now when your company closes down?
Right.
Hey,
and
you got to think about things a little differently.
Absolutely. The whole mindset has to change. And as you were saying, the kids are not in school now because the schools are closed. And the schools that's staying open in terms of college, that's not working out for them well either, because, these kids catching these viruses and stuff. And then you hear them talk about they're getting ready for spring break when the kids come back to school for a month or so, then the spring break. I mean, then we have no control on this virus. And I always said a long time ago, is we don't know what it is, for one thing. We don't have a cure. They say they got something now, you notice. Then you run into the flu time of the year. So now you are confused to what you have. A lot of people catch the flu and say, oh, I got COVID-19. You know what I mean? So then the people that got COVID-19 probably say, oh, I just got the flu. I'll take some chicken soup or something like that, and I feel better. But in all actuality, we have to understand that we have to prepare ourselves for doing something else. And as you stated earlier, this is the time to take chances on your job. It's better than you take a chance now, as opposed to when everything fall around you. Then you say, well, I guess I got to get out and find something. Do they realize there's millions of other people doing the same thing you're doing, when you should have looked and prepared for this now? What has been now 5 to 6 months now, Robert? Mr. Gatewood, and people still deciding on what they're going to do?
Well, you have nailed it on the head. If you ever indecisive about whether or not you're going to take this risk on this, roll the dice on this thing called entrepreneurship, it really shouldn't be a hard decision right now. I worked many years in corporate America, and I must admit, one of the things that was always hanging over my head is my job going to be here tomorrow? I mean, that's like a burden, man. You walking around worrying about, saying the right thing and bowing down and kissing people's feet and crap. Let me tell you something. You don't have to do that. I'm telling you, because there's this misconception. There's this misconception that if I don't walk a certain way, act a certain way, then my livelihood is gone. That's going to happen anyway, because Myles, when I left college, I went to work for this big corporation, and they were a national food chain. I mean, they had supermarkets up and down the East Coast. I mean, all over. And I was a buyer, came in, and I'm just knowing, man, all my little friends out here who were starting businesses and struggling. I'm sitting up here in corporate America saying, man, I got it good. Man, let me tell you, after 7 years, I just knew I was going to be Mr. It a few years later. Them suckers closed up. And all those dreams I had about corporate America and all the great things it's going to do for me just went up in smoke. I repeated this process 3 times. I'd get with a company, I'd sit there, they'd They fat me up and put me in some nice suits and a nice office, corner office, put some secretaries out in front of me. I'm saying, man, this is the life. What could be better than this? That repeated itself not once or twice, but 3 times before I finally. So I'm telling you, folks, I have sacrificed for you. You don't have to do it. I've done it for you. I'm the poster boy. I've seen it happen. I'm telling you, folks, what can happen. It will happen eventually. So what I did, Myles, after that 3rd time, I guess it was the what's that 3 strikes rule. I said, I can't do this anymore. I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to jump out here and do this on my own. And let me tell you, each one of those jobs, it was over in about 5, 6 years. I've been on my own company now 25 years. The difference was I called the shots.
There you go.
I wasn't sitting around biting my nails, worried about some company going out of business or somebody didn't like the way I spoke and sent me packing. So I'm not saying that everybody can go out here and start a business tomorrow that's going to last 25 years. I'm saying consider it as an option, as a pathway, and you can actually do both while you're working on that job. Start your little side business because one day that may be your only source of income.
You're right, and it does give you a sense of false security when you have those jobs, and then at the same time you're walking around on eggshells, and you know that's not the type of situation you want to be in. You're grinning out one side of your face and you're sweating on the other side of your face because you don't know, as you stated earlier, whether you said the wrong thing or you did the wrong thing or you're not walking a certain way and you're not presenting yourself. That's a lot of stress on people. I feel that you always want to have control of your own destiny, you know. And one thing about being an entrepreneur, and as you stated, and I can test it, it's not easy, you know. One reporter told me that did a story on me one time, and she said, you know, the only problem with the MFL, Dr. Myles, I say, no, what is it? She said, you make it look so easy. You make it look so easy. And I know that ain't the case. But see, people always look at, you know, they look at the glory. They don't understand the story behind it all. You know what I mean? They never understand the story behind it. And as you can testify, because, you know, we've been in business a long time, it was never easy, but because of the determination we had to succeed in it, we kept pushing forward. And a lot of people don't have what it takes to be an entrepreneur or saying, okay, well, I'm going to stick it out. You know, just so you know, and I know more than just as well as me, a lot of people get there, and when they get thick, then they want to start thinning out. And that's not what they should do. They got to hang in there, and they got to push and push. Even when you think you can't go no more, you got to continue to push.
Well, Myles, you're exactly right. I tell you what has to happen though, but when you get in business, I keep going back to this mindset because it is hard. It's not easy. And you also have to start thinking about money differently because when you're in business, you can't, I know this sounds kind of crazy, and a lot of people say, wow, this is not for me. Money can't be your main motivator. And that's why you have to reposition how you look at money and think about money. Because if you're doing it just for money, the first time you have a good month, you go out here and throw that and crazy. And the first time you have a bad month, you're ready to jump off a ledge. You have to be motivated by something other than that next paycheck. You have to be motivated by your purpose, motivated by what you're doing for the community, what you're legacy you're trying to build. There are other motivators other than money. Money's good. But if you follow your purpose and your path, you have good intent, the money will come. The money will come.
And that's something that a lot of people don't want to, they want it now. And soon as they come in early, they want to go spend it up. They forget about all the other things. People, and something I want to talk to you about also, why is it, you know, people, they always want to spend the money first. They forget about putting money back into business, Robert. And also, I'm going to do something that we haven't done on Inside the MFL yet. I'm on the left because I had a couple of people told me when they missed some of the information that we give out. So I want to take this time too. So Robert, you can give them your information, how to get in contact with you in the Money Market Pulpit, and we want to do it twice on the show. I want to do it in the middle of the show, and I also want to do it at the end of the show.
Well, thank you. I'm telling a little story with my information. This week, I've probably gotten about 5 or 6 people who have contacted me because they realize that they are ready to get in business. Some of them heard me on the MFL. Some have heard me on the Marketing Pulpit radio and TV show. Some have been referred by different agencies and people who are already customers. My company, Gatewood Marketing and Web, we are a business development company. Our sole purpose is to help companies get in business. And what we have done, unlike any other company that's doing this, we focus on the customer. We're not trying to make a quick buck. I have people, and I hired a person whose main reason for being with the company is to make sure that we're treating you right and that we get your company to success. You can find out more about Gatewood Marketing by going to gatewoodmarketing.com. Now, every Friday, I have my radio and TV show called The Marketing Pulpit, where we give out information to help nurture people, inform people, let people know how this process works, and to let them know it's not easy. So we give out free information every Friday at 10:30 on the Marketing Pulpit show, and that you can go to find that on marketingpulpit.com. Mr. Myles has been a guest, or some of the other members of the MFL have. Matter of fact, we did a show a few weeks ago. Everybody on there was from the MFLs. So we've been glad to work with the MFL. They've supported us, and we're happy to support them. But that's the best way to find me is go to marketingpulpit.com or go to gatewoodmarketing.com if you're ready to start moving your company or start a business. I mean, I got a young lady contacted me today, and she's trying to start an event planning business. She's tried different things. It hasn't worked. She worked with some folks who didn't know what they were doing. And a lot of them come to me saying that, well, I tried this one company and they started that thing. Well, I want to give my company money to a Black company, but I had a bad experience. I said, look, let's not talk about that. There are bad companies in every race. But luckily, you come to one company now that actually cares and knows what it's doing. So that's my company, and I'm glad to be on the MFL every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. So you can find me here if you don't find me on these other locations.
And also, it's very important that I like the fact that the camaraderie we have with you and Mr. Gatewood is on our board, and we're so grateful to have him there because, I tell people all the time, I don't know everything. I'm going to learn a little bit about everything. So I'll get people like yourself on my board that know things, so I don't have to tell people I'll get back with you. You know what I mean? Also, I'm impressed with you because you explain and teach them business. And with the MFL, we bring in former players from the field to the front office, give them the opportunity to understand the other side of the business other than football. We want to bring, even with the players, we want to bring them beyond the field. And as you know, we have hired a lot of young people that, and they're dynamic people and everything. And this is a time where jobs are scarce, but we seem to be doing things, Robert. And also, I want to commend you for the fact that we want to teach these young men how to be entrepreneurs, and we want them to understand business, not a business, but business. Because you get t-shirts and you print them and you sell them, you think you got a business, you really got a business. And the great thing about Mr. Gatewood Marketing Pulpit, we're going to teach you understand business. Do your LLC, sole prop. That's when you know you have a business. When people can reach you. We had a problem. We're not going to go into. I'm not going to go into it. Just vaguely mention it that someone challenged us, and we like, hey, okay, making statements and stuff. But we just like that over league. We big boys. We don't even entertain to even get in contact with them. We let our attorneys handle that. You know what I mean? You don't get you don't get that. Right. You don't have that privilege to talk to me. You know what I mean? So in saying that, it's just ironic how people don't understand business. You have to be you have to understand business. And these are the steps that you take to learn to be a business. That's why we have Mr. Gatewood as our co-host on Wednesdays.
Well, there are some foundational things about business that I'm always happy to share with the young people of the MFL, the millennials, some of the some of our adults who've spent most of their lives in corporate America, government agencies, and when they leave these or when they're ready to take that step, I'm always have to back people up. Say, look, before you get to the money part of selling, all the other things that you think is part of a business, there are a few foundational things you have to understand. For instance, when you start a business, you have to look at the industry you're in. What phase is it in? Is it in the introduction? Is it in the growth? Is it in the maturity or the decline? And wherever that industry is, you have to make certain decisions and take certain steps. And so those are things that many people who think they're ready for a business, they may not be as ready as they think. And so that's why before I bring anybody in, before I take anybody's money or take anybody from step A to step B, I said, look, there's some foundational things we have to understand first. Let's look at the 4 Ps. What is your product? How do you plan to price it? Where are you going to be locating it? How is it going to be promoted? Let's talk these things over. Let's come up with a marketing plan and a strategy. And so until we do those things, we're going to keep making these businesses that gone after the first 4 or 5 months because we thought we were ready to go into business when indeed we were not. So that's why when Myles, you asked me to come on board and help work with the MFL and the players and anybody who's a stakeholder of this organization, my phone is always open. I would take that call anytime to anybody who wants to talk about if they're ready to stick their toe in that entrepreneurial water. I'm always happy to share them what the minefields are, what the stepping stones are, where they need to slow down, where they need to speed up. Sometimes people think I'm just trying to slow people down and let opportunity. Well, sometimes you have to slow down for a reason because you have to save that energy because sometimes you have to speed up. And if you spend all your time speeding up when you should have been slowing down, those are recipes for failure. I've been doing this now almost 30 years. And I've seen every industry, every cycle, every type of business, every type of business owner. I'm not saying I know it all like yourself, Myles, but I always like to surround myself with smart people like you, people who have done it, people who have staying power, who have a track record of success. And I use that success of others and look at what they've done right and discard things that people are doing wrong. And I lay out a success foundation, a success plan that has proven itself over and over again for many businesses. And that's why, once again, I take my hat off to the MFL for making this avenue available to its players and other stakeholders.
And and that's what we're about, the laboratory of change. And we have a Dr. Freeman up there in Rochester doing an outstanding job as an owner. Then you look at Dr. Eubank. I mean, we are a woman owner. These are some people that stepped up and said, wait a minute, I can do this. And then you find a lot of people, you find out that people have money to do what they want to do. You don't never have no money for nothing else unless they want to do something. And I say to them, you need to come experience what the MFL is doing because we're talking about generational wealth here. That's what we want people to understand because there always have been a glass ceiling over us when it comes to us owning, people and that word, people, I don't like that word only. After when you own something, it's yours. I remember recall years ago when I had to go. I was trying to get my liquor license for my business I had, and people protested from Capitol Hill. Now I'm on 8th Street and all these. They come all the way from 4 blocks away on Capitol Hill to come protest me. And then when we get there, and then they always try to use language like, we not educated enough. Or we're smart enough to understand that, don't know anything about us, where we went to school or anything like that. And the guy got up on there and he called himself trying to be condescending. And he said, so you work there? I said, no, I don't. He said, oh, so you the custodian of the place? I said, no, I'm the owner of the place. Oh, and the judge, but he said, oh, I ain't mean no. Yes, you did. I said, first of all, if you know, let me explain this to you. A custodian, someone cleaned up the facility. The owner mean I own everything, So, he didn't mean it like that. Of course he did. Of course he did.
Yeah, he did.
people will do what you allow them to do. As you know, Robert, they'll try to get away with what they can get away with. But I checked them early and I let them know, I own the building. I own the building business. I'm not renting the building. I'm not leasing it. I own the building and I'm the owner. Do we have custodians? Yes, but I'm not him. You know what I mean? So it just goes to show you how people, how they look at you. And then I always tell people all the time, this is the time now. Time that, we have the time has changed now, and we got to understand that timing is everything. As you know, Robert, timing is everything. And right now, it's telling people this is the time. This might never happen again. We're taking franchises over in Africa. This will never happen in another million years. And it's so important and so the significance of it to pass this to generational. Now you're talking about something that people forgot to talk about in the Black people. Most of us get jobs and everything. I got mine, they get theirs. But they forget one thing, generational wealth. I've never seen a brick behind a hearse, meaning you can't take it. So you want the generational wealth so you can pass it down like that other league do. And we don't do that, Robert. And why is it we have a problem with understanding that?
I think last time I was on here, I had done a little research, and my research continues. I've been trying to figure out if there's such a job that's so good that you can pass it down to your offspring. I haven't found it yet, Myles. Only thing you can do that with is your own business. I don't care who you work for, how much they're paying you. You cannot, once you're gone, you're gone. So, and I'm telling you something else, Myles. It feels so good when I wake up in the morning and I'm not, look, folks, if you're working 9 to 5, I'm not mad at you. I'm not hating on you. I'm not trying to make you feel guilty. I'm just saying that this is available to you too. Even if you have to do it on the side while you build your customer base and work out the bugs. But man, let me tell you something. I don't dread going to work. I mean, the man's like, I get up. It's like, I'd rather do that than stay home, actually, because I'm going to something I own. I walk in the door, I make my own hours, I can eat when I want to. If an event comes up in my family, I have to go, I can go when I want. I don't have to ask some little snot, can I be excused? I mean, some of these jobs, you actually ask some little knucklehead if you can go to lunch, if you can go to your child's bar mitzvah, or your child's event or play.
Mm-hmm.
That's all of that ends once you become an owner. You decide when you go, when you come, and do I ask for everybody? No, but even if on your job, you need to start building and harvesting your skills. You can contract yourself out. You don't have to start a business. You can be a contract. You can set yourself as a sole proprietor and sell those skills on the side. So there are ways that you can find that same economic freedom without going out here throwing up a brick and mortar shop. Mm-hmm. There are so many ways. There are so many pathways to that generational wealth. But it starts with your mindset and your belief that you can do it, and getting the information you need to make it happen.
And when we get it going, I have to admit, we people of color, we get it going. And what tickles me, Mr. Gatewood, when people, when you meet people, they say, well, this Dr. Myles, he on the MFL. And they always step to me and say, who are your partners? Who are my partners? So we're not capable of building anything like this. You know what I mean? That they were, to me, that's insulting, because to me, you're saying to me, nowhere in the world that you're doing this by yourself. You got some people. Of course, I have people that work with us, but they always have to feel like you got somebody else behind you controlling. I'm not a puppet. You know what I mean? No strings attached to me. This is all me. And at the same time, I just want them to understand, if I can do this, anybody can do it. Long as you put the work in. You have to put the work in. Let me make that clear. You have to put the work in. Because I always say to people all the time, if this was easy, everybody be doing it. And even then, we have to understand that generational wealth in economic development. We got to stop holding our hands out to people. You know what I mean? You know, back in the old days, I'm going to date myself, Mr. Gatewood, you know, we always depend on each other. If I had the bread, I had the peanut butter. And our other buddy had the jelly, remember? So we just,
making me hungry, man.
we didn't have to, you know, we didn't have to beg people for stuff that, or ask for a job where 1,000 other people is applying for, and they tell you in a minute, you don't have no experience. We here to give you the experience. We here to teach you entrepreneurship from white collar to brown collar. I get players call every day, and you know the first thing they say, Dr. Myles, the website is great, but it's nowhere on there where it says how to pay my money. I said, we're not collecting any money yet. Well, wait a minute, I'm gonna hold my place. What place? This is open tryout. But it just goes to show you, if you have a product that is a need for and is viable, as you stated earlier, people gonna come. What was the old saying you used to say? If you build it, they'll come.
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. And you need to build a strategy too. The old saying, another saying is that it's not who has the best mousetrap that beats a path to your door, but who has the best way of promoting and getting the word out. You can have the best idea in the world, but if you don't promote it, nobody's going to know about it. It's like a tree falling in the forest. Now, there is some good news, Myles. That I saw this on LinkedIn today, that despite the recession and the ongoing pandemic, we're in the country is in the midst of an unexpected startup boom. That means more businesses are starting up now than probably ever before. We've seen record unemployment, but people are that little light bulb that I've been trying to get light in people's heads since I've been since I've been on the air for 10 years. That little light is starting to come on. Now I hate that it took a pandemic for it to happen, because many people who, where that light came on earlier, they were already ahead of the curve. Just like my company. I mean, if I was just starting a marketing company, I'd be struggling right now. In fact, I've been promoting myself and branding myself for 25 years. When that pandemic hit, I was like the first thing people thought about. I'm saying it's not too late. Don't wait for another 5-10 years, another 5 months or so. If you have a great idea, if you have a skill that's marketable, go ahead and start the process. Start something. Like I said, if you even just starting your LLC, if it's getting your EIN number, if it means start doing some research, looking at some suppliers, start looking at where you might, are you going to be located online, in an office space? Just start, because once you start, there's something about starting, Myles, it's hard to underestimate. Once you start something, it's like that snowball coming down the hill. Man, it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger the more that it goes on. So go ahead and just start the process. Sometimes it's as simple as calling a guy like me saying, look, I got this idea in my head. I want to just bounce it off somebody. Hell, I'll take that call. And sometimes that's what it takes to light that spark. Next thing you know, you look down the road, a year or two from now, man, you sitting in an office, or you're in your truck or out on the field doing your work. You got people working for you. You're outsourcing certain things to certain people. There are so many ways and avenues to business success. And I think one of the problems that many people have, they're listening to their friends, or they saw something on TV, or they read something on the internet, and they're not getting the actual information.
Mm-hmm. And your friends, please don't go to your friends for advice, because they'd be the first ones to tell you you can't do something. And they'd be the first ones to run to you and say, you gonna give me a job? Or put me down with that, man. Why are you not putting me down with that? And that's so I really can't stand that when people do that to one another, because I always say you have the courage to do something that they don't have the guts to do. You know what I mean? But yet and still, they waiting for you so they can tell you, I told you so. Or they be the first one to say, well, wow, you know, let me get with you. No one want to be the first, but on the contrary, you do want to be the first. You know what I mean? Now, believe it or not, today, I get a lot of phone calls. I got 3 phone calls from companies want to loan me money. when we looked at your stuff, Dr. Myles, that you don't own in the MFL and we loaning money, but we loan up to $15 million. Now, when we needed some money, you couldn't find no. Now, look at what's going on now.
Ain't that crazy though? Ain't that crazy? For people, when you need money, you can't get it. I mean, like I said, I get those calls too. I mean, I don't really need it right now, but there was a time I would have been glad to take that call.
When you ain't got nothing, you can't get nothing. But when they see that you're doing something, everybody want to give you money. I'm right.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
It was so right. I bust out laughing. When we sent it to you, Dr. Myles, we loaned up to $50 million, and we were looking at your company and all that. I said, well, wow, I'm glad you're looking at it, but we were impressed. But we can loan up to $15 million. Now, we're supposed to be in this somewhat session, but then still people ready to get money. You know what I mean? And as you were telling a lot of people, they don't know how to borrow money when you was telling people how to get that money. And that's them. Remember that? I think you might want to expand on that a little bit, Mr. Gatewood.
Yeah, well, one thing you do have to, there's three things I say you have to have when you started in a business. You have to have a market, you have to have a mission, and you have to have some money. And there are many ways to get that money. Many people like myself, I was a bootstrapper. And a bootstrap is somebody who really uses the money they're already making, either through their job or money they have on the side or their hustle. And they're finding that dream they have. But then some people, they go the traditional route. They go through a bank. But, man, it's hard to get money from a traditional bank nowadays. And so what happened in the last, during the pandemic, starting up around March, April, the federal government started lending out money. They had the PPP loan, payroll protection loan, and they still have some money left in the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Relief Loan. And so you can get up to almost 30% of your annual revenues, and they just cut you a check just like that. Now they have tightened it up a little bit. Now initially, man, they were just throwing money out there. It's like all you had to do was have a pulse, and they dropped 10, 15, 20,000 bucks on you. Well, now they've tightened it up. You have to have a certain credit score and certain other criteria. And I think it was good that they tightened it up some because it was being abused. Some people were actually gaming the system. And so I'm not against having some type of criteria or some type of qualifications, but there is money out there still for people who need money through the economic injury disaster loan package. And you can talk to, matter of fact, one of my clients, taxes and all, they specialize in that. They come in and give you a free consultation. If you need that money, then they can actually get that money for you. And so there are other ways like that. If you're trying to do a venture capitalist, if you need going the VC route, you have a scalable company. And scalable companies, or if you have a company that's not necessarily a brick and mortar, but if you have something like let's say like I have one client they're doing mobile hair service. And that company will go after some venture capitalist money. And what they want to do, they might give you like what we call an interest-only loan, where you pay the interest on the loan for 5 years. Then you have a balloon payment at the end. But you have to have a company that's scalable, and they realize they're going to get that money back when that time is. So there are ways to fund these dreams you have. It depends on your company, your background, the type of industry you're in. And I'm also, like I said, glad to have that conversation with somebody and point them in the right direction if they need help.
Absolutely, because I know early during this COVID-19, we was talking, and you was talking about people could not get the loan because they were not filling the paperwork out and they didn't understand how to do it, and that what makes your company so unique and good, that because you're showing them how to do the paperwork. And a lot of people don't understand you have to have the paperwork done and you have to have everything in order. You can't be, like people laugh at me because I always say that, Mr. Gatewood, you can't have a business. You got to have a business. You understand? That means you got to have everything in order. Like you tell them, all your paperwork got to be right. Because people going to check you out anyway. Companies they give you money because they already then checked on you. Am I right or wrong, Robert?
You are so right. And I must admit, Myles, I have not been the squeaky clean guy that I am now. But I learned if I'm going to grow this business, I've got to do things right. That means you got to file your taxes. You got to get your DUNS number, your Dun and Bradstreet number. If you're trying to get in the government, you got to get your cage code. And then if you're in a state like Maryland, you got to have your business in good standing, because anybody with a computer can go and look you up, and they go in there and see your company has been forfeited, you haven't paid your taxes. That information is too easily available now. And I hate to say it, but a lot of the brothers, I'm telling you, I say, look, some of you brothers out here, y'all need to get a good woman or somebody on your team to get those books cleaned up. Because I'm gonna tell you, man, I think a lot of guys, I think it's the way we wired. We like to think big picture and visionary. But letting those little things like those numbers hold you back. So get you somebody in there who has I'm kind of joking when I say it needs to be a woman, but somebody who can help you get those books straight, because that will hold you back like nothing else. You can't get any loans. You can't get certain partners. Sometimes the vendors won't do business with you because they look at you as a risk. They saying you're sloppy. Let's straighten that up. That's, like I said, that's once again why my company has been successful, because we look down at the foundation of why companies fail. We're not just out here trying to bring in customers and money. What good is that going to do if you're going to lose as soon as you make it? We have to build that foundation of your company. And once you do that, one of those foundational things is to make sure you get those books right, get that paperwork done, file those taxes, get that LLC, get that protection you need. If you got a good idea, go ahead and get the trademark on it. Do those things that's going to protect you. So when you do start blowing up like Myles, you have those things in place.
And people start, and then that's why the people start calling you then. Because at first they wouldn't call you enough. You can forget about it, huh? But when they start calling you, you know you're doing something right. When they start calling you and want to give you money, imagine they give you money, then that means, buddy, you're doing something then. And then I tell them, nah, you sure? Well, we got different kind of programs. Well, we can also give you, we have a loan that you don't have to pay back. They hit you. I mean, all of a sudden, all these things that you couldn't get, you never heard of, all of a sudden they materialize themselves. You know what I mean, Ms. Gatewood? And that's so funny to me, because I always say, when you ain't got nothing, you can't get nothing. And that was the great thing about me, by the help of the Lord. I had my own money that I used. So I didn't have to worry about when stuff fall beside the wayside. I didn't have to worry about, man, I got to get my money. I'm pulling out and stuff. That was the one thing, I thank God I was fortunate enough to have my own. And no one could say I borrowed money from them, I owe them any money or something like that. It's owned by me. And a lot of people, it's hard to fathom that. The fact that, how does he do all this? But you think about it, it's a beautiful thing. And some people think they can't buy. I was talking to a couple of people, and I said, well, you need to put a group together and buy a franchise, and I say, you need to talk to Mr. Gatewood, the marketing pulpit, and tell you, man, you can group spot even the millionaires, billionaires. They use other people's money. You know what I mean? They take and put a group together, and that way they understand. And a lot of people think that they really don't understand about business, and people really don't understand. People of color, when you get up to a certain amount of money anyway, it's not really cash, it's signatures. You know what I mean? And believe me, when they give you that kind of money, they took insurance out on the loan. So whatever happened, they still gonna get paid, and they'll pull it back from you. So they come out on top both ways. And people of color really don't understand that, Robert. And that maybe another time where you'll go into that when they call you, you got to understand that, billionaires don't use cash. It's a signature. And it's that number that they send, the bank send over and say, okay, this is the number. Okay, you want $30 million for a loan? Okay, here's the number. It's coming over to you. It's not that you giving somebody $30 million in cash. You know what I mean? We was if LeBron James asked for all his money right now, they couldn't give it to him. You know what I mean? If they asked for cash right now, am I right or wrong, Robert? They couldn't give it to him. Yeah. Tell them you own this. They'll tell you a million things he owned. Am I right or wrong? But they can't come and tell him what he actually signed for, what they owe him. They can't do that. And maybe for a couple of minutes, you can explain that to people too, Mr. Gatewood.
Well, the The monetary system in this United States is almost like a Ponzi scheme. It's like a deck of cards. It's a house of cards. Reminds me that, remember you used to watch the Beverly Hillbillies when Jerry Clamp would go in and ask Mr. Drysdale, Jay, Mr. Drysdale, can I see my money? And he started sweating.
He almost had a heart attack, didn't he? But we can put it in these bags right here. We're gonna take it back. And then you talking about giving him what was it, $60 million? Man, the bank president almost had a heart attack, didn't he? They don't get it, huh?
That is so funny. You're right. You have to understand how this monetary system works. Like you say, man, once you own assets, you don't walk into a place and write a check for $30 million. Your signature is the money. And so that's why you have to take care of your assets, protect your assets, protect your credit, make sure your paperwork is in order. And people will you can get money if you keep your nose clean and understand how the game is played. Because these folks aren't right. Like you said, they're not walking into places with sacks full of money, buying football teams and businesses. They be signing on the dotted line. They look and see what kind of assets you have. Oh yeah, Mr. Myles, you're good for it. Then they work out the paperwork later on.
They're transferring. It'll be coming, but they really don't understand what's coming is a number, a code. You know what I mean? But these are some of the things that we want people to understand. But I want everybody understand that Mr. Gatewood, would you give him your information again? We have a few minutes left.
Yes, sir. And thanks again, Myles, for making this platform available for the listeners and to everybody out there listening. Listen to this man on Wednesdays and again on Friday. The MFL is a great organization. They give out great information. They're not just about building themselves, but they're also trying to build up other people in the community. And that's why I align myself with the MFL, because it's not all about them. It's about the community and our people doing better. I have my show on Fridays on the Marketing Pulpit. Go to marketingpulpit.com. I'll be on this Friday, and we're going to be talking about some business development tips. Glad to have you tune in. We'll talk about you, read your comments on the air. You can ask questions, and some of these questions that's nagging you about being in business, come to the Marketing Pulpit and put it out there on the air and talk about it.
And it's a great show. I always tune in it, even if I'm rushing and doing some other things. I really have a lot of respect for Mr. Robert Gatewood. Great show. I've learned a lot from him and continue to absorb everything I can get out of him. And a very knowledgeable person. And I'm glad to have him a part of the MFL and the thing that we're doing. But more importantly, we want people to understand the MFL is definitely the laboratory of change. We want to bring former players from the field to the front office. We want to tell young players, we see you, we hear you. You know what I mean? We want to tell young people in college, you're home right now, you're on your laptops and stuff. Come experience what we're doing. Come here. We'll give you an opportunity to do what you're going to school for, but you're not sitting in the classroom. You're actually implementing the things that you're doing. And I'm excited about having Mr. Gatewood on it and being a part of our board. You can also contact the MFL. We're on all the social media platforms. We're on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on all the social media platforms. You name it, we there. I sent you something today, Mr. Gatewood. I don't know if you've seen it the other day, that the National Minor Football League has just been announced and put up, you know, So the MFL is stronger than ever, and the people, everybody's saying, "Oh wow, man!" Yes, the MFL, the National Minor Football League, is owned by me as well, and it just gives more opportunities. Like I say, we're going to Africa. This is something going. We're supposed to be leaving this month. I bowed out because I didn't want to take chances leaving the country. Might have a problem getting back in, so I apologize to everybody over there at the African Union in Africa, because I'm just a little older than most people. You know, I might not look it, thank God, but I choose not to opt out on that. But Dr. Olawale doing a great job for the MFL. You know, they go there and hope everybody be safe. But I want to say this has been another edition of Inside the MFL. I'm your host, Dr. Richard D. Myles, along with Mr. Robert Gatewood. We'll see you Friday. Thanks.